recommend the plan, the base compliance plan. But there were some questions and lack of information apparently on the neighborhood housing plan that people wanted to know more about, and so I'd like to discuss that tonight. With any questions, and then hopefully take a vote one way or the other before that as well. So, any questions, comments? Wow. So we supported last month, but the board didn't seem to be ready, or at least some people had questions.
But Tanya, I can't see the who's talking.
So Tim
It's
said
coming
that-
on now. It's just reconnecting.
Oh, okay.
Well, there we go. Now we're seeing everybody.
Good.
To the folks in the room, I guess you have the microphone on mute, so Leanne and I can't hear any of the discussion.
Felt that it would be better, knowing that there's going to be changes, that I go to town meeting, not my favorite, whatever, and with approval of our board, if things look like it's going in the right direction, then we go ahead and support it.
That's what I would suggest, and that's what I would, that's what
Okay, so if there's questions on what we have now, or discussion on what we have now that people are concerned about or feel good about, or whatever the story is, I'd like to know, so that if there are, there's one over here, Kate. If there are changes, then somehow we decide whether I'm going to support them or not as a group. Representing this group and the seniors, so. Nothing?
It makes sense because I was saying to Pauline, there was an article in the local paper from people who are questioning this. And one of the things they bring up is what's the implication if it goes through the higher numbers or even at the lower ones for the schools, and how much allocation they will need and what the changes might be. And I think that's critical because depending on what they do, then usually what goes to the schools doesn't come to us as seniors, and that is a concern. So I think your suggestion is excellent. We should do tentative support depending what it comes out to be.
So the implication to the schools was discussed at an open planning board meeting. Month and a half ago. Yeah, I think the 9th of September or something like that, that both Ed and I were at. And at that point, they didn't feel that the addition would be such a great number and or amount that it would really affect the budget. But people then questioned, well, you know, how do you plan that? How do you, when you're asking us to put in, housing that'll be at least 2 bedrooms, or not at least all, but you know, and you can't guarantee that it's not gonna be kids. So that is something that I know
Yeah.
people have raised a
Right.
question about.
It's basically an unknown,
Right,
and we're just, I hate to use the word, but we're guessing at what the impact might be.
right.
The other point is that even if we approve this plan, this is something that isn't gonna happen in our lifetime.
Oh, gosh, no,
And probably not in the next 30 or 40 years.
right.
No, I saw Brookline, you're talking about departments, I think, like, I think you're talking about the new buildings, if they want to put their.
We're just talking about the
And-
recommendation of home and and the select board and the articles that are coming up for a vote on the 21st, yeah.
So Brookline mentioned how the trash and the rats and the. It's not the restaurants. Restaurants is 7% of their trash. It's the apartment buildings that don't clean up after themselves. It's the buildings that do it, not the restaurants. And I know our restaurants have to clean their stuff every night. I can hear them. But do we have, you know, Brookline said they made like $32,000 in those fees alone. Because places, I didn't know if we have a building code for these new apartments that could be coming down the road. To recognize that we gotta keep it clean. And stuff like that. Will that come up in a? I'm more concerned about. cleanliness.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's something that's gonna come up in the discussion
No.
of these 2 plans.
But they should.
And again, I'm not sure that we're talking about the kinds of apartments that are built in Brookline.
But I think any.
I mean, there's-
High Rock is not that far, it's right on the train.
Yes,
tracks,
yes,
You know, and that's how.
and
I mean, I'm just like, because there's just gonna be more, just more stuff coming, you know, like things come when you. What? And like you, like when they do 55 and over, I'm like, you don't understand, 55-year-olds have elementary school kids, because we are not our parents' generation. So
yeah,
I have classmates, we just had our 35th, I have classmates with kids in 3rd grade. So if you live in 55 and over, hey, baby, I'm only 53. You got kids in elementary school, middle school, you know, like this is a different, you know, even if they did that up in Charlesburg, or like, it's a different world right now, and I feel like sometimes they're building on old school versus what really is coming is my generation is different.
And I think that's.
as
Oh, I was
oh,
gonna say,
okay,
I support Ed's position. We don't know what's coming down. We don't know what
Right.
Kate is talking about. So I think we have to, make that clear that we'll decide, we'll table that, so to speak, or we'll consider it in its time when we have more information and when we're closer to the support at the time being, the supporting the base plan doesn't, there are not so many unknowns.
so you're advocating basically that we will support the base plan.
As presented.
And what if both plans are voted on by town meeting to go forward? We don't have an opportunity at that point to decide. We don't have the information that you are asking for to decide, so apparently then we know. So, as a board, we don't support the larger plan.
And it's that we don't support it, there's too many unknowns. We like to unqualified support to approve this.
Okay.
No credit.
Well, the numbers were significantly different from what they originally presented.
So- So I would say that the packet of information that I had sent Colleen was fairly comprehensive. Last night
And
they
I
went through the
paid for
numbers.
3 cards,
Sorry,
and I put
Sorry.
$20 in
Sorry.
2 of them.
I have to.
Go ahead, Tim, I'm sorry.
Sorry. The packet was incredibly dense in information. There are a lot of assumptions built into those calculations. The planning board and the housing hone group, the Housing for Needham, presented to the finance committee last night, and they sort of went through a lot of those assumptions in detail. There's definitely, they're making assumptions based on the size of the apartments and in previous buildings in town, how many kids has that yielded, and how many would be young kids versus how many would be, middle school kids versus how many would be high school kids. There's definitely a lot of assumptions built in. They also had some propensity scores, which I thought was interesting. It was essentially, given the change in zoning and given what is in place currently, which parcels are likely to be built on eventually, in the next 5 to 10 years, and which ones are unlikely given, assuming the profit motive. So like, you could, the new building that's on, the new condo building that's on Dedham Ave or something, right? Right before you get into the square, that could be redeveloped, but that's unlikely to be redeveloped given that it was built a few years ago and is, I think, 3 or 4 stories high. And so like there is not money really to be made by rebuilding that versus, if there's a 1-story building that isn't well used, or if there's, Copley Motor Cars or something, a big lot that doesn't have much in the way of building coverage, that is the type of property that could be profitable to redevelop. So I think that was an interesting sort of element to say, how likely is it that someone is going to redevelop this? Needham has a lot of long-term landlords of fairly small parcels. So there's not one person that controls a whole big chunk of Needham Center or the Chestnut Street corridor or the, Avery Square Business District. There's a lot of sort of smaller landlords who make pretty decent money and aren't that interested in redeveloping unless it's a good deal for them. So I think if you take a look at the materials and also the recording of the FinCom meeting last night, they really went into what is the maximum build out possible and what is the likely build out based on those propensity scores for what is profitable versus what is not. But it was a lot of numbers.
Yeah, and anything else? Sorry.
I just wanted to make a statement relative to the trash bins that are right now in downtown and probably with rats and so on. And it's been somewhat unclear as to who has responsibility for the monitoring of and finding people and so on. The Board of Health is about or is considering seriously regulations which will allow the board to take over the monitoring of those trash bins. And that would, it could ultimately be part of it, so that we could inspect them, permit them, and then issue fines if necessary to make people comply with regulations. And right now that's a kind of a gray area to make the ball more black and white. And we will do that,
Yeah,
very sure.
I mean, but as you know, we had the problem here, and it's not, this is a single unit that's open a certain amount of times, but if it's not emptied, and it seemed like we didn't have a lot of control over when it was emptied and whether the cover was shut or not, or whether, that kind of thing. And couldn't seem to get anything done about it. So it's
That's
a,
because the Board of Health doesn't have right now.
right,
Your jurisdiction.
right.
And Arlington and other towns like Arlington and Lexington have passed those kinds of regulations. and they're very positive about the results.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, Tim?
Yes, I think the other thing to sort of balance as the board is thinking about how it wants to weigh in on it is there is certainly some uncertainty about, you know, the total number of units that would be built and over what time frame. You know, the maximum build out is if, you know, every building, regardless of whether it's a new building or an old building, a big building or a small building, is knocked down. The reality is it's, you know, it's going to be hard, and because so many communities are going to have to do this, it's not like Needham is opening up the floodgates to developers and no one else is, right? Other communities are also doing this zoning, so it's not like there's going to be a complete flood of new buildings in Needham overnight. I think one of the things that this board has been interested in over time is trying to diversify the housing stock in terms of what types of units are available. So are there units, you know, housing units that have an elevator? Are there housing units that are, you know, handicap accessible as people age and maybe have physical infirmities? Are there units that are, you know, different sizes and different price points? We hear quite a bit that seniors want to stay in Needham and, you know, have a home that has ballooned in value, but there is nothing smaller on the market to buy, and there's nothing cheaper on the market to buy in Needham. You can't find a nice starter home that's small in Needham anymore. If you do, the developer is going to get to it before you and knock it down and put up a big house. So one of the, you know, arguments strongly for more housing is that it would give people who want to stay in Needham an opportunity, maybe not, you know, the units they'd like. They might not like a condo in a building with an elevator. They might prefer a ranch house with a small yard, but it doesn't seem like those type of houses are ever going to be available in Needham.
Tim, in the discussion last night, was there anything more about 100 West Street? There was concerns about the fact that it looked like the planning board was making concessions so that a particular, so that it would be built a particular way or revamped a particular way. I know that there were concerns about that at that meeting that we had before.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not an expert. They did talk about it for the first 10 or so minutes of the meeting last night. As I understand it, the Hone group, which was, you know, some private citizens, some finance committee members, some select board members, some planning board members, they worked for about a year, came up with a recommendation. And one of their recommendations was, sorry, the neighborhood housing plan and the base compliance plan recommendation. But one of the notes they put into their report is they said, you know, 100 West Street is a sort of prime development opportunity that is right there, as opposed to someone who's a developer has to buy up a couple different lots from a couple different landlords and then put the parcels together and then, you know, submit a plan. It's sort of a almost ready-made project. So Hone did recommend to the planning board some modifications. I think depending on who you follow, you know, some people think that's the right way to go about things versus others think that, you know, you shouldn't make those concessions to developers. But they did talk about it at the FinCom meeting for the first 10 or so minutes.
Okay, because I know they were talking about the number of apartments, I know the last zoning change there allowed for the added floor. But there was concerns about parking and setback and so on and so forth, so I didn't know if they had done anything more about that.
I don't know the details on what the tweaks they had made, but they had suggested some tweaks. And one of the big sort of, if people aren't aware, one of the big differences in the requirements of the MBTA communities housing law is things have to be buildable as of right. So one of the things that developers say is the special permit process, which can drag on for a year or two, makes building very challenging in Needham, which doesn't move very quickly because they have to, you know, have a mortgage on the property. They have to have insurance on the property. They have to pay, you know, to lease construction vehicles for a longer period of time, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea that there would be as of right building means Needham would have somewhat less control over what is built, but it also means that there might be a greater opportunity to say, we can help cut more red tape if you're willing to build more affordable units, or, if you're willing to put green space on the property, or if you're willing to do streetscape improvements. That was one of the things that the planning board was keen on, is trying to figure out where they still had kind of levers that they could control, to get kind of the type of building and the type of sort of built environment that they want from developers.
Yeah, and I know that there was a conversation about the number of different, excuse me, just normal, like the, sorry, my mind went blank, which is not unusual lately. Like the building inspector, like the, the plumbing inspector, all these different things that, that are watchdogs, so to speak, of this kind of building. Even though it would be by right, there's still things, agencies in town that are, acting as a preventative, certain things, or a watchdog of certain things, so.
I mean, nothing's getting built that doesn't have a turning radius for a fire engine, right? Like the fire department
Right.
won't allow something to get built if an emergency vehicle can't access the property. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
If someone's proposing something that's against the building code, Joe Prondak is the relatively new building commissioner, and he's very good. He's been, came from Milton. He's been here about a year and a half. So yes, there's town still has control. It doesn't have quite as much control if it adopts this zoning, but again, there's sort of a balance of what control you can have versus do you want to try to encourage more housing development, and where's the balance between the two. I don't know what town meeting's going to do. My read is that town meeting will approve a compliance plan, the base compliance plan, pretty overwhelmingly. And then it's a question of, does town meeting want to go for the extra neighborhood housing plan or not? And I think that's a real open question. I don't really think there's a serious question about whether town meeting will go for the base plan. They'll do the base. It's just a question of whether they're going above and beyond.
My guess is there'll be a lot of discussion on the second phase.
I think it'll be a very long time.
Yes, yeah.
We're comfy
A lot of
shoes.
people like to talk. So, based on that, if this board approves, since we've already taken a vote that we approve of the base plan, I will attend town meeting. I will ask to be recognized, which I usually, it doesn't ever seem to be a problem. I will state our case and not say anything about the neighborhood plan until we see what else is going on. And if it turns out that we don't make a recommendation, or that I don't say anything on the other plan, it's because I have no idea what the heck they're talking about. And I would not do that without approval of this board anyway, so. Okay, anything else on this?
We need to have a vote.
We've already taken a vote on the base plan.
Right.
We don't need to take a vote on something that we're not going to say anything about. And I think that's how everybody feels, as far as I can see, unless there's somebody that feels differently and wants to voice that opinion. No? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, the approval of the review schedule fee. Latanya, do you want to?
So it's every year we have to list the fees that are charged by the senior center, and the board reviews them and just approve them.
So did everybody get a copy of that?
That's why I was asking you if you
Oh,
received it.
yeah, I did, but I
Oh, you don't know if everyone else
I
did.
don't know that it.
Okay, move to
And
the
that
next one and I'll go.
Okay, that could have
yeah.
been my fault because it wasn't indicated that I was supposed to send it out, so,
Okay.
all right, thanks. Okay, let's go on then. We'll skip that for a minute and, talk about the division. Jess, since you're here and sitting prettily over in that corner.
Thank you. Can I actually defer to Amy from Shine so she can hop off?
Absolutely.
Amy, you want to go for it?
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Okay, so we've been doing a lot of outreach in preparation for the farmers market. So we've finished off with our farmers market table. In September, we held a table in Newton on September 3rd, Watertown, September 4th, and the Belmont farmers market on September 12th. We also gave several presentations for Medicare 101 at Westboro Library, September 5th, Ashland COA on September 10th, Dover COA on September 16th, at the CATH itself on September 17th, Natick Library on September 19th, Holliston Public Library on September 23rd, Watertown Savings Bank on September 24th, and Ashland Public Library on September 25th. Then we held our monthly Shine Counselor meeting per usual, and that was held on September 10th. We also went to 2 resource fairs, one at Waltham, which was the Waltham Age in Place, that was on September 13th, and then the Natick Resource Fair on September 24th. We have been doing so many outreach and presentations. We actually heard from the state that Metro West has done more outreach than any other Shine in the state. So we are #1 for outreach. So we have been doing a lot, especially in preparation for open enrollment. And I think we're doing great because appointments are going much faster than usual, actually, this year. And just to finish off, before I get off track, we also attended several Medicare webinars in preparation for Medicare for 2025, because we are seeing a lot of changes for 2025. So the webinars we attended were Understanding Changes to Medicare 2025 on September 17th, and Medicare Plan Finder Bootcamp on Part 1 on September 25th and Part 2 on September 26th. And that was it for September.
A lot.
Just to name a few. And a Sunday that you missed.
Yeah, we even had some weekend outreach events, so that was quite different. Does anyone have any questions?
I didn't think so, no.
Can I just give them a shout out? They are working
Thank
like
you for all
wild.
Yes.
They are doing so much, and we're really seeing the benefit of it, so. we're
Oh,
very
thank
lucky.
you. Thank you.
Amy
Yeah,
and
we
Michelle
couldn't,
are amazing advocates.
we couldn't do it without you guys and you all support. So thank you so much. I'm gonna hop off now, but it was nice seeing everyone. Take care. And I hope everyone's made their Medicare open enrollment appointments.
Before they're gone.
All right, thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ooh, that's a tough act to
I-
follow. I didn't print it, so that's why I'm looking at my phone, so I guess I'm going green this month, but. So social services update, we're actually pretty steady. The numbers had dropped a little bit last month and they're back up this month. We still are maintaining a short wait list for our counseling, but we have our intern, like I said last time, 3 days a week now, and she's really up and running and taking on clients, which is a huge help for us. We are still moving forward with our transportation grant. Now we're in the contracting phase. Thank goodness. So it looks like we're gonna move forward with GoGo Grandparent to offer medical transportation through rideshare programs. And again, there's a fully accessible option through that program, which is why we chose it. They're able to get handicap accessible vans for people, which, taxis were able to do, but it was challenging. So we're gonna try out this rideshare thing and see how we do. And again, that'll be appointments within 8 miles to cover Boston, so that we're not, duplicating what the community council is doing, but adding something to the mix. Our staff has attended a few different trainings, which is always great. Carrie's doing the internal family systems training, which is a pretty lengthy one and helpful for our counseling program. Isabel, our new social worker, has done one on dementia, and non-pharmacological interventions. So we're thrilled to be able to do trainings whenever we can. We're still doing coffee hours at the Housing Authority, which is great. Thank you to the Friends for buying those much needed donuts and coffee to get people there, so. And keep us well caffeinated. What else? Our tablet grant, shout out to Sue. Thank you so much for your help with that. We're hopefully giving out iPads pretty soon, maybe in the next month. So we have 96 iPads, I think, that are gonna go out, with the hope of reducing social isolation for seniors. So that's really up and running now, and we're working with the community council on that. The Homelessness Prevention Coalition restarted. We took a break over the summer. We'll be back to meeting quarterly this year. The focus at the last meeting was putting together, revamping a resource guide that was made during COVID that we want to update and just kind of get back out in the community. Housing continues to be a problem and there isn't a clear solution, but we're just trying to get the resources out to people as much as we can. And also monitoring our crisis fund that we've been able to help out some people in need, which has been great. In terms of volunteers, we're steady. We have about 23 volunteers helping us who are active. We have a lot more that kind of fill in as needed. Still using the online volunteer application, and that's going well, but other than that, everything's pretty steady.
Jess, is the homelessness in Needham, is it about level as it usually is? Is it increasing? Is there?
Yeah, it's hard for us to say. I know we have some sort of regular people that we work with,
Right.
but what we're hearing is that the hospitals are feeling the pressure, since Norwood ER closed, and just a general lack of mental health beds, that there's a lot of people are coming for the ER and there's not a clear solution for it.
Yeah.
So our department, the social work department, like consistently does a ton of housing applications for people. It's just nothing moves quickly in that world, so. We struggle with like what the solution is. It just doesn't feel like there is one, but just
I know there's
yeah.
at least two people that come here almost daily.
Yeah.
So,
We
okay.
definitely like that. Needham is wonderful, like a lot of those in-kind resources, we're able to find funds to help people, but the overarching issue of finding them a place to live is so challenging. So that's where we get stuck.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so
I should,
Shizzy, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
top
Hi,
right.
Aisha. I'm sorry, from here, I can't see except for little tiny boxes, so.
That's
Thank you.
okay. No one's ever called me tiny before, so I like it. Programming and transportation are doing great. We are pretty much booked through March. We're adding diversity programs as much as we can. So we have some new ones and we have some revisits coming up. Jen did a fabulous job with the compass as always. She's getting to be a pro at taking pictures. It was very exciting thanks to Latanya having Woody there on Monday. It melted my heart. I wish I could have been there. Our trips, we went through a little crazy period with Best of Times travel, but Karen's doing a fabulous job and we think we've maybe worked out the kinks a little bit, and we were looking and researched other companies to try to have a backup, but we're hoping that it all works out with them so we don't have to start anew, because we've booked trips straight through 2026 and people are excited about them, but it's been kind of headachy, and we had one trip that wasn't great, and that was to the Simon Pierce factory. We are trying to get more creative with space because we have so many programs that we're running out of space. So we are utilizing the cafe as a programming space more in the mornings, which helps in many ways because it helps because it's already full for the continental breakfast or Great Plain Traders or bingo. So it's a win-win for the presenters. We are hitting a few walls with having to use the game room because our exercise classes are taking off and more people are wanting to take part. So we are using the game room, and some people are not happy that it's interfering with ping pong, but we'd rather help 20 than 2. So I just tell them to call ahead and look at the schedule. We can let anybody know and they can come play when it's not a program in the room. That's it. We're super busy. We've established great partnerships as always, but started more. I do feel like home health care facilities or businesses and facilities for living for seniors are coming back to us, which they didn't for a while. And I let the friends know that I had someone tell us that they were told to back off from senior centers for a while. And that was in the last 4 years, and that maybe they're trying to come back a little bit. And I think that's it. We're doing, the other thing is Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're pretty much booked in evenings, trying to see if more people will come. We've added 6 new evening programs in the last week. So we'll give it a shot, see if they come, and hope they do. And I'll update you at the next meeting. And if any questions for me, let me know.
Can you share about the Saturday program? The new one that, that's taking place on Saturdays at the restaurants?
Oh, we started a Saturday supper club. We've tried some Saturdays being open when we've done flu clinics and we've opened up the whole facility and people don't come. So we thought, okay, we'll try something that doesn't have to have them come to the center. So we have Saturday supper clubs where we have a restaurant booked and people are going on their own to be together. And then if all goes well, I'm hoping that when winter is upon us, January and February, we'll bring back the Sunday supper club where we delivered frozen meals during COVID when no one was together. And they heated them up and they Zoomed. And we would typically get between 18 to 30 people that would join the Zoom. And I think that that's a way for people to sort of eat together and have a meal, be together. So we'll bring that back in January, February.
So I happened to go to the Saturday Supper Club last Saturday. There were 10 of us there. We were at Little Spoons.
Oh,
yeah.
It was great. I mean, I knew most of the people that were there, but there were 3 people that I had never met before, so that was good. There are a few little kinks getting there on time is really important because a place like Little Spoons is small, and we took up the whole table in the back. And we were waiting for one couple to come, and finally they asked if we could order because it was holding up. So I think that's something that we have to make sure with the people who sign up, that they're there on time. I mean, I know things happen, but the restaurants are happy when their tables are taken up for that length of time with no one ordering.
Concerns, and when we called Little Spoon to let them know that this was happening, we told them that we had 8 registered and to plan on 12. So we tried to cover it that way, because I know how many people either pre-register and never show or don't register. I was a little worried starting off with Little Spoons.
Everybody loved it. They loved the idea, they loved being together, there was a lot of chatter going on back and forth. The only problem was the timing and the fact that we had taken up a great many tables. They were very, very busy, very busy. And they, you know, I would guess that people left because there were no tables. So.
Thank you
And
for that feedback out to them. And you know, thank them and touch base with them and get their feedback and say we'll do it again if they want us to.
How does it work? Do people pay, do they have a set price? Do they have?
no,
What
you
do they-
ordered off the menu. Unfortunately, everybody wanted their own check. Something has to be done about that. Because that again is, you know, with 10 people, there were 2 couples. And the rest were singles, and everybody wanted their own check. So maybe there's gonna be something that somehow, there's a set menu so that,
Restaurant.
they're, right, yeah. Or people understand that, you know, they're gonna have to get one check and divide it among them or something like that. Nobody drank, so it wasn't like everybody, you know, there were different people drinking alcohol and others weren't. I guess it's Cook this Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah, which might give a different atmosphere because Cook, you know, has the bar and so on and so forth. But yeah, that was something they didn't seem to be, the waitress was not too happy about, and I don't blame her.
A restaurant week type thing, I think would be good, you know, here are your 2 options for app, so many options for meal.
We reached out to the restaurants, most of them, and they did not want to do a price fix.
Okay, all right, well, that's good.
Maybe after they saw what happened this Saturday, they may change their mind. That's why I will
Yeah.
reach them tomorrow, but
And I had said something to the people that were there, that this just isn't, you know, fair to the restaurant, as far as, you know, it was mentioned in the beginning that they would all want separate checks, but that didn't get passed through. So in reality, it was really a good night. There just was a few little quirks that, were displeasant.
Okay, good to know.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not going this Saturday, so I don't know what's gonna happen, but,
Right, I'll send a mole in, Colleen.
okay. I don't particularly care for cooks, that's why I'm not going.
I'll sit at the bar, I should know.
All right.
So we're gonna do that.
Yeah, you can sit with me, Colleen.
Okay, but I think it's a great idea. I mean, people were really, you know, there was a lot of chatter going on. They seemed to really be glad to be together. There was one woman I had, is not from Needham. She's from Wellesley, but she comes here. And another older couple from Needham that I had never seen before, but we had stuff in common, which I thought was interesting. So anyway, It was good. It was a great idea.
So did you say it was mostly single people?
Yes, there were 2 couples,
Yeah.
but the rest were all single. Women. There were no single men.
They're all dead.
So if we pay for it, the men will come.
Free drink. All right, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but since I had attended that.
I love the feedback. Thank you. I need to know that sort of stuff as we start new programming.
Anything else, Aisha?
Think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to the schedule fee. So are there any huge changes in any of this, Latanya, that we should be aware of?
No, just know that the ones that don't have a date as last review, those are new programs, so they won't be, they'll be after review, be reviewed for the next year.
Okay. Are there any questions on this? So may I have a motion to approve the schedule of fees and charges? So second?
Second.
You okay, Faith? Yep. Okay. All in favor? Oh.
So
I have to tell you, after we just did that, I learned something, Ed and I went to the, and went to the, meeting that the, town hall was holding for, learning about the town and everything, what they're doing, what each person does, blah, blah, blah. So basically, we sat there and said, yeah, we already know this, but but anyway, the one thing I did learn, and I should have used it right then and there, and I didn't know and hadn't been really practicing, is if there's anybody that's on Zoom, I have to ask for a voice vote by each person.
Like a roll call? Like a roll call? vote?
Yes, yes.
Because when I
because-
had COVID last month, I felt bad interrupting you, but I couldn't answer.
Yeah, yeah. So the only person that I don't know said yes is Leanne. So.
I said yes. Yeah, I said yes.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you, Colleen.
But I will have to remember that rule. I've gone all these years. Just breaking the law.
Zoom is new.
I'm sorry?
Zoom is new.
Well, that's true, and I don't like
Well,
it.
I
so
mean,
maybe
we
that's
have
part
like,
of it.
we have more here, I mean, but one thing, everyone's on Zoom, but when everyone's in the room.
Yeah, I mean, we have,
Uh,
usually we have maybe 1 or 2 people that are
Yeah.
on Zoom, in a meeting, so.
Colleen, it
And we
comes- it
don't
comes
always
up in all
have
places.
such great,
It comes up in all places with Zoom, because people are on and off it, and it's it's confusing.
right, right. And we don't always have such good clarity with Zoom to know whether either we can't hear them or they can't hear us. So, because I know you said.
Yeah, I know, I felt
Leanne
bad.
couldn't hear us,
Yeah.
and neither could you.
Well, Leanne.
This is very good tonight. This is excellent tonight, by the way.
Okay, great. All right,
The gods of Zoom would like you to.
right. All right, so let's, the approval of the minutes of September 19th. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to pass the minutes as everything.
Okay, is there any discussion, corrections, omissions, et cetera, et cetera? Hearing none, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Do I have to do a roll call for the
No.
minutes?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
All right. We had scheduled, we had done a, COA meet the coffee people, or the coffee people meet the COA members, board members, a while back, and we've been asked to do another one. It was scheduled for the first day of Rosh Hashanah, and we canceled it. So I'm looking to set up another date, and I will work with Aisha on that. And whoever can make it would be great. And if you can't, then, you know, as long as there's a few of us there to answer questions and let people know what's going on. I'd probably like to do it maybe after town meeting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will at some point, when I get a date, I'll post it to everybody, and if you can come and chat, it's, you know, it's what we're there, like an hour, maybe, depending on whether they have questions or concerns. So I'll let everybody know about that. Okay, Teddy, are you okay, or do you want to go now?
Oh, I have to go in a few minutes, yeah, yeah, the friends, doing okay, donations are doing pretty well, and we everybody knows about our great donation from the Exchange Club, and stay tuned to see how that's gonna work out on the deck. That'll be exciting when we get that going. And the compass, of course, is going beautifully, as was said a few minutes ago. And the postage went up a great deal again, so it's costing us about 2,200 every time we send out. Plus some change.
Yeah.
And we had a few interesting activities. I think we got a good turnout. Our ice cream social seems to really be a big hit. And of course, our annual meeting, the strawberry shortcake, that always brings people. And in a few weeks, we have a scary movie afternoon. Aisha's getting us, I don't remember what movie she's getting for us. We're having root beer float party, so. For Halloween, so come if you want, and wear a costume. We'll have fun with that.
Well, you
I don't
don't
know
have to
what-
wear a costume.
What?
But you don't have to wear a costume.
No, Friends is a good group. They're a nice.
Right.
group of people. They're a nice group of people.
Yes.
Good to work with.
It's a great board, really, it is.
How are the pastries going?
The what?
The pastries from Panera?
Great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Are they well received?
I think they're coming. I haven't seen them because they've gone, but.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, they're getting
They're
lots
probably
of
going
bread.
about 10 minutes after you.
They're well received.
Yeah.
What time do you have to be here by?
7, right at the door.
If you're here by 9, you're good. Something will be probably left maybe, but.
Yeah, they're being picked up. Let's see, they have to be picked up like 10 of 9, I've heard it from 10 of 9 at night down at Teneras. Because that's when they close up, and they used to throw it out apparently.
Yeah.
It's right straight into the dumpster, which is just a sin as a dumpster. But so we have two people, Walter and Beverly and her husband go. And let's see, Cliff, I think, is gonna go. And I'm not sure about Jamie. Jamie doesn't drive, he doesn't drive. There was somebody else who said they offered to go again, but eventually, so hopefully we'll have enough people going.
It's just down the street from me, so if you get in trouble, just give me a
Yeah,
call.
okay, well, yeah. Beverly's coming
And I
So
can
you
get
picked them
your
up the
dinner at
night,
the same time.
you picked them up the night before? So then.
Yeah, it has to be the
Yes.
night before. It's too bad you can't send the van over in the morning, you know, to pick it up, but.
No, they want it out, so they can process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently they bake the next morning.
Yeah.
I mean, for the next day, right? in this- that
They bake
facility.
right there?
Yeah, apparently, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Fresh every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the room, I don't think, because old and new, so, yeah. And what time does it have to be here?
Well, and we open it, and they bring it right over.
Yeah.
They get the big
So-
old,
Whenever.
yeah, whenever we know.
If you're 9:05, forget it.
31, it's still.
Do you heat it up a little bit?
No. Put some butter on it, yeah, we can put some butter.
Yeah, going through the toaster.
But it's really just, it's not put in the kitchen and people, you know, it's put out on the table and people just take it. So, you know,
I have a tree that's the gym.
some take one and some take two and.
Yeah, I was here this morning. I saw people taking it home. I was here for the night.
Reason.
Yeah. It was so
Yeah,
like.
sometimes we use it for French toast. Well, sometimes we have grilled cheese.
Right, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, French, make French toast.
Sometimes.
What
It's that day.
Right, and is it picked up every day?
Twice a week.
Twice a week,
Yeah.
okay. And those are-
Monday night and maybe
Thursday?
Thursday. And they do freeze whatever, it's some of that, right, or they can put their freeze whatever.
And our participants have been enjoying it, they really like it, so. Definitely made a difference.
She spent a lot of time getting that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot
Yeah,
of time.
totally.
Yeah.
No, it's,
Yeah, and she didn't give
Track
up.
them down.
But She was.
yeah, it took a long time for them to go through. Just not getting the right person. She would get a different person every time. Oh, yeah, I got the right person. Well, yeah, I'll take care of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ted, sorry, I needed to.
It's all right, no
Yes,
problem.
With Anna for you.
Just a couple of little things. I got, I'd like to extend my kudos to Latanya and anybody else that was involved in doing the Woody Woodhouse event.
That was.
I thought it was terrific. I never knew that there was somebody like that with that kind of, credentials, in the Boston area that was in that kind of a position. Very good, very informative. And the part that I found that was really amazing was the fact that there was, the attendance was what it was. I was there earlier in the morning for another event, but I thought that they'd probably be on a skimpy side for attendance, but the hall was full,
It was.
which was
yeah.
very good. Makes his trip to his presentation very well received.
Yeah, and in case nobody knows that this is a 98-year-old, yeah.
I read the whole thing.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Oh,
okay. It was, he was incredible.
Yeah,
He really
yeah.
was.
yeah. For 97, he was
Yeah.
so with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit of comedy in there as well.
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah. And
So-
his memory
so
was
really-
excellent.
right.
Yeah,
Some really sad things,
Yeah.
but yeah.
yeah, very good.
Go ahead, Ted, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Up and coming November 9th and 10th, we have our annual Veterans Day Poppy Drive. We'll be at both supermarkets. And we also have one of our members from the VFW who lives in Newton. Natick. The fellow is, this past August, he got 100 years old, so he's working on his 101st year. But he's there for Memorial Day Poppy Drive and also for Veterans Day Poppy Drive. And it's surprising, he's a Navy veteran, World War II. He sits there and as the people come into the supermarket, they stop and talk to him. And he exchanges, words back and forth. He's very well with it, and mobility is a big issue, but nevertheless, he comes there and he sits there the whole time period. So we usually are there doing the 9 to 11 shift, so looking forward to that. The other one that's gonna take place is obviously Veterans Day, November 11th, which is usually a good event at Memorial Park. With a collation that takes place at the post, come there for lunch. The invitation is offered on that day. And because it's a little bit cool, the temperature, very well appreciated for the Exchange Club, their coffee and donuts that morning. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. So that's it. Couple of major events coming up for the month.
Great. Sometimes we get cookies for it.
Sometimes we do. I read the today.
Okay, thank you. Any old business?
I just wanted to ask. Finance committee, was it finance? No, in terms of the
Credit cards, they reached out to us, then we just, again, and we just have to schedule a time.
Right.
But there's movement being made.
Right.
Hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have something, to say that.
I know there was a date that they said they were gonna try and do it by, so we'll see, so. Okay.
That's at the top of the list,
Right.
credit card, yeah.
Any new business? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? All right.
Okay.
This is your cookies.
Of course, they're gonna.
Well,